So I hope that this is fine with you. Raffaele Trapasso, ACD, and Ecole platform. Welcome to this meeting. I take the opportunity also to introduce Giulia Aimone Marsan and to invite her as co-host of this event to say something before we introduce our speaker and go on with the discussion. Giulia?
Thank you, Raffaele, and thank you to all of you for being in the room. I'm Giulia Monemarsan, and I work for ERIA, the Economic Research Institute for ASEAN and East Asia, and I also happen to be the chair of the steering committee of ECOL. I'm very thrilled about bringing the annual ECOL Roundtable to Jakarta. I could see that some of you that are now in this virtual room will be there with us later in November. We will share some more information about the agenda later this week, maybe if we can even tomorrow. But we are very excited to welcome people for the first ECOL Roundtable happening in the Indo-Pacific, as we were just chatting with Raffaele and Hiroshi before starting the open part of this webinar. That's all from me. I mean, we will now have a conversation about what's happening between Japan and Southeast Asia, and I really look forward to that.
Thank you, Giulia. And we have a speaker that is Mr. Hiroshi Ishikawa. He's a special advisor to the Ministry of Economy, Trade and Industry, the METI. It's a great pleasure to connect with you, Hiroshi. As Giulia said, we should have more interactions with the Indo-Pacific. So thank you very much for accepting this invitation. And I give back the floor to Giulia for starting the interview. Thank you very much.
Yeah, I mean, I need to add that Hiroshi is working in a senior position at METI, the Ministry of Economic Development of Japan, but we are very glad to have him at ERIA too as one of our brightest colleagues. And we have recently worked together to actually produce what is our first flagship publication about digital innovation in ASEAN. We produced a white paper. I'm going to share with all of you the link to this white paper. This paper was released during the ASEAN Summit. The ASEAN Summit this year took place in Laos at the beginning of October. And during that high-level ceremony, we also awarded some startups that at ERIA we want to promote and support, but I'm sure Hiroshi will tell you more. So to start our conversation, why don't we discuss a little bit about the latest trends about innovation and technology, including artificial intelligence across ASEAN, something that we covered quite extensively throughout this year, and it's one of the main mandates of our newly established Digital Innovation Center. Over to you, Hiroshi.
Yeah, thank you very much for inviting me to this webinar, and I'm very excited to be part of this very exciting discussion. And as I'm introduced, my name is Hiroshi Ishikawa, working as a special advisor to the minister at the METI, and also working as a special advisor to the area as well. And I'm very happy to work with Julia at the area. And first up, regarding the first question about the technology and innovation situation of ASEAN. So let me go over briefly about what we see ASEAN from the perspective of innovation and technology. So we see that there are some innovation. I mean that the ASEAN is especially. So let me start with the situation of AI. That I would say. So so in terms of because my role as special advisor to the minister, right now I'm very intensively working on the AI innovation, and what we see the situation of Southeast Asia is that globally, U.S. and China is advancing very ahead in terms of the AI investment and also the AI infrastructure. And in the Southeast Asia, Singapore stands out in terms of its response to AI and AI investment. The others are honestly speaking, falling behind. And considering that the impact of like AI into the economic growth and social society as a whole, we think that there are many rooms for the ASEAN countries to catch up, especially in the AI, and in and also the in the innovation as a whole, there are last 10 years that ASEAN countries have developed extensively about the startup, innovation based on their startup companies, especially in the area of the B2C landscape. So this is, we are trying to, continue this kind of a digitalization, innovation based on the digitalization. That's what we see. And also Japan, as a Japanese government, we are, trying to work more closely with the ASEAN countries to, co-work. That's what that's what we see.
Thank you. I think you have already just introduced what we would like to discuss during our second question today before opening the floor with the rest of the participants. So you mentioned already that Japan is a very active player in Southeast Asia when it comes to collaboration regarding entrepreneurship, innovation, the latest technological trends, including AI. Can you tell us a little bit more about the flagship actions, the flagship collaborations that are being deployed as we speak, but that will be deployed also in the future, because I think this will be quite relevant for all our participants and the OECD as a whole, as we know, and probably most of you know now, with the new Secretary General of the OECD wants to engage more with Southeast Asia and the Indo-Pacific, and obviously Japan is a very important OECD country within this geographical area. Over to you.
Okay. So first of all, Japan supported the area to establish the EDISC, the Digital Innovation and Sustainable Economy Center last year, to support the Southeast Asian countries in responding to significant digital innovation changes, including the AIs and all those trends. And the focus of the EDISC is based on the three pillars. First is that the digital trade, and the second is the digital government, and the last one is innovation and entrepreneurship. And particularly, the area has been supporting the ASEAN governments to have the harmonized the market environment, such as the ASEAN Digital Economy Framework Agreement, and also try to support the countries to implement the policies for forming a startup ecosystem, including AI startups. And as part of the startup ecosystem program, we have launched the One ASEAN Startup Award, which aims to highlight the startups that solve the social challenges, including those utilizing AI in Southeast Asia. And this year we have set up two categories, one of which is about the AI. And this award, and another topic is that the impact startup, meaning that the like a startup company is using technology to solve the social challenges. And this year, this award program, received the application of more than the 400 submissions, with the grand prize decided at the ASEAN Business Investment in October. And we feel that the momentum for AI startups is definitely rising in Southeast Asia. And also, and in addition to this program, as the Julia mentioned, that we publicized the first flagship paper of the white paper on the startup ecosystem at ASEAN. So that's the that's a program we implemented as the first year of the startup ecosystem program at the area.
May I just jump in with a follow-up question a little bit, because I think it will be extremely interesting for the audience before we continue the conversation. Now it's public information because it was approved during the ASEAN Minister meeting of Economic Affairs. Can you also tell us a little bit what you think is going to happen in terms of, the EI co-creation strategy between Japan and ASEAN? I think this is a very exciting project. Area will be involved in it. And perhaps, although we don't know perhaps, exactly what is going to happen 100%, it's another initiative that very much involves both ASEAN and Japan, and it could be quite interesting for our participants.
Okay, so we are trying to, promote the collaboration between the ASEAN and Japan in the area of AI. And because as I mentioned, that in the area of AI, U.S. and China are advancing ahead, and including Japan as a country is falling behind. But we try to work together with the Southeast Asian countries to have the more integrated, AI ecosystem between the Japan and the Southeast Asian countries. And in order to achieve that goal, former Prime Minister Kishida has issued a message in June, and we launched that initiative based on his remarks. And particularly, we emphasize the development of LLMs capable of high accuracy, even with non-English data, and the importance of talent development. And we express the strong desire for Japan to collaborate with the ASEAN countries in these, in this initiative. And in the ASEAN Economic Ministers and METI dialogue in last month, we proposed to have the ASEAN-Japan AI innovation roadmap during the Economic ASEAN Ministers meeting, and which was noted to be supportation. So by making this AI roadmap between the ASEAN and Japan, what we are thinking is that we try to address what is going to address the impacts of AI on the ASEAN region as a whole, and we try to address some of the actions which the Japan and the ASEAN countries work together. Right now, we are going to have the two focuses. One is the talent development, another is that the development of the LLMs, which has the more focusing on the non-English status, because Japan, most of the data in Japan is based on the Japanese language, and similarly, like in Southeast Asian countries, like most of the data are based on the non-English status. So we try to co-develop those LLMs together with the Southeast Asian counterparts, which has more high accuracy in those minor languages. That's the two pillars we have in mind. But we want to have a more longer term and comprehensive strategy together with the Southeast Asian countries. So that's what we are going to do, and area is going to be involved in that program.
Yeah, I mean, I just would like to add before I see Raffaele wants to intervene as well, but just to maybe explain to some of our participants who might be a little bit less familiar with the Far East. As Hiroshi mentioned, lots of countries are currently developing AI strategies, and they're also thinking about how to develop LLMs in local languages, similarly to what is actually happening in Europe. Singapore, including the government, is very active in this respect. Hiroshi is based in Singapore, and he knows that very well. There have been sizable investments from the Singaporean government and also by the private sector to start developing models that are using various languages beyond English. And, something similar, it's to some extent, although, as you probably know, the innovation ecosystem of Indonesia is less matured compared to the one of Singapore. But nevertheless, Indonesia is a very big country, is the largest economy in Southeast Asia, more than 350 million people. And there are interesting startups that are now, trying to develop models based on Bahasa Indonesia, which is the local language. So that's a very dynamic and active area of innovation in Southeast Asia, as in other countries around the world. And once again, both Japan and ARIA, our organization, will try to play a role to facilitate the development of these various innovations across multiple countries. But I saw, Raffaele, that you wanted to intervene. No, Hiroshi, please, if you want to say something more, go ahead.
Oh, thank you for the explanation, additional explanation. But the one thing I want to add is that the next step we are looking for is that we want to have more like a harmonized rules among the Southeast Asian countries and also Japan, because each country, including Japan, is not as big as US or it's not as big as China. And that means that the scale of the data is limited, and the performance which the AI or AI service can achieve is based on the scale of the data. So we try through these cooperation of talent development or development of LLMs. Like we try to achieve more harmonized rules among the region, among the Southeast Asian countries in Japan, so that we can utilize the data of each country. But this is something like it's a very difficult to achieve just the negotiation. Although the Southeast Asian countries are right now negotiating over digital economic framework, but not just the negotiation is something doesn't lead to the harmonization of the rules, especially in this new developing areas. So so that is something we want to achieve in addition to the talent development and co-development of ILM. So I would add that the one example is that, for example, the AI company is developing, let's say, for example, like developing services in Singapore, but they cannot utilize the data which was collected in Singapore to expand their services to, let's say, Malaysia. So that is something happening in Southeast Asia right now. So through the cooperation projects, we try to achieve that the more harmonized rules among the Southeast Asia, and hopefully it extends to Japan. So that is something I wanted to add.
Thank you. Giulia, can I follow up? Thank you, Hiroshi. It's super interesting for us also because also institutionally, I don't know if all participants are aware that the fact that Indonesia and Thailand are now accession countries to the OECD, and the Far East is a very dynamic area in which we are absolutely interested in expanding our cooperation and policy dialogue. But specifically, when you say that you are promoting harmonization and you are trying to support the startup ecosystems in these countries, who are your main counterparts? So what is what are the institutions that you try to leverage with your policy intervention? Thank you, Hiroshi.
Yeah, thank you for the question. The counterpart of each country varies actually, because this policy pillar, like developing a startup ecosystem, is something very new. Although each country are very interested in this policy area, they want to have more like a startup ecosystem, innovation ecosystem in each country. But in some countries, like it's governed by the Ministry of Trade or Industries, but in other countries are governed by Ministry of Science and Technology and something like that. So this is something, like each, countries are working on right now. But the trend is going to have like one harmonized institution. For example, like in Malaysia, they just, established the Ministry of Digital, and under the Ministry of Digital, they established the government agency which focuses more on the digital innovation called the METI. Or like Vietnam, just the launch the National Innovation Center, which was located under the Ministry of Investment. So the institutional structure of each country governing the innovation and startup varies, but for us, like it's important to be familiar with the structure of each country in order to implement some cooperative projects or like promote some policy harmonization.
Let me just follow up on that very briefly, and then Rafaela, please go ahead, and whoever wants to intervene, you're more than welcome. Again, for those of you who are not fully familiar with the region, keep in mind that there's also a regional layer of governance. It's perhaps not as fully fledged as at the European Union level, but in Jakarta, and this is why we are hosting the roundtable in Jakarta, and area is based in Jakarta. There's something called ASEAN Secretariat. It's the Secretariat of the Association of Southeast Asian Nations. And these are the 10 Southeast Asian economies that have embarked a process of economic integration, and they jointly negotiate trade agreements and rules. And as Hiroshi mentioned before, they're currently now negotiating something called DEFA, DEFA, Digital Economy Framework Agreement, that is supposed basically to lay the foundation of a regional digital economy. And it's very comprehensive, from digital trade to, data sharing, entrepreneurship and innovation. And we are, very much involved in various stages of the negotiations.
I want to add what Julia mentioned. So we have each country's institutional structure, and also we have the ASEAN Secretariat structure. And in order to promote some policy initiatives in the new areas like the AI, so sometimes it's very difficult to find the right counterpart. For example, like AI is mainly discussed in the digital ministers meeting under the ASEAN. But actually, in some countries, like Ministry of Digital is just the Ministry of Communication. It doesn't. Their mandate is very limited in each country. There could be very limited, and also for digital innovation, the privacy laws is very important for the for promoting that digitalization policies. But in some countries, for example, like in Vietnam, like the privacy laws is governed by the public security agencies. So it has nothing to do with innovation. So one challenge we have to implement this kind of a policy initiative. We have to find the right counterpart in each country, and also we have to find the right track in the ASEAN Secretariat level. So I think especially, and also I want to add that in also like in the area of digitalization or AI, the players in each country is very limited. Countries especially in the less developed countries, in the private sector, who has a strong stake in digital is very limited. That means that the government does not have the enough knowledge to discuss the implication of the rules, and also the they are not aware of the stake of each rules of that digitalization.
Thank you, Hiroshi. I think we have some questions. Maria, my colleague Maria Sobron, is also moderating the chat. Maria, do you want to?
Yes, thank you very much, Raffaele. Thank you, Hiroshi, for such a comprehensive and interesting presentation. We have one question in the chat. What do you see as an obstacle to developing this innovation ecosystem in Southeast Asia? How do you envisage using the concept of open access to knowledge, to information, in a world or in a region with rising conflicts and mistrust, let's say? And how do you think this your work related to AI is contributing to achieving the UN SDGs by 2050? Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for the question. The first question is about the obstacle of. I understand that the first question is about the obstacle we face for the promoting the open innovation in this region. I think that in the current situation in the Southeast Asia, I think it's we have a very little obstacle of promoting the open innovation in the field, especially in the field of policies, because each government understands the importance of open innovation thanks to the development of the last 10 years. But the difficult part is that each country, the stage is very varied among the 10 ASEAN states. Countries like Singapore is advancing ahead. They have a comprehensive innovation ecosystem domestically. But on the other hand, countries like Laos, they have a very limited resource for the promoting innovation, and also the the human resource. I mean, like education level of each country, it varies. Like especially the countries like in Cambodia, Laos, they don't have like a very basic science education background. So for that, the countries, it might be very difficult to like nurture the innovation ecosystem. So that kind of difference among the countries in terms of the like a human resource education level, or like a industry level, is sometimes difficult to work together. And the second question is about what was the second question? Second question is about open innovation and
it was more about how does digital innovation and your plans for AI contribute to the UN SDGs?
Oh, okay. So as I mentioned that we did the One ASEAN Startup Award this year, and we received many proposals from the startups based in ASEAN utilizing AI and solving the social issues. So and we looking at these applications, we believe that this utilizing the AI can have a very strong impact on the solving the social issues and the sustainability, especially the SDG issues. And one, for example, that the one like a winner of the ASEAN Startup Award is using the AI to provide the services to the government, which where the governments can detect the low developed children through the early. I'm sorry, I might be might be unclear for me for explaining in English, but utilizing AI to find the low developed students in early stage, so that the teachers can intervene effectively to that students. So that kind of service is provided by startups utilizing the AI. So we believe that the AI application of AI, if it's used in right way, it could contribute to the solving the SDGs, or contributing to the achieving the SDGs.
Thank you very much. I have another question in the chat, and is about the resources that are brought to startups to develop their product or services. Do you provide access to specific engines like supercalculators or finance? What are the concrete measures that you put in place? Hiroshi, thank you.
Oh, so sorry. The question is what? Oh, could you repeat the question again?
The question was about examples of concrete initiatives that you put in place for startups.
Okay, so you mean the some concrete measures we take for supporting the startups in Southeast Asia?
Perfect.
Oh, okay.
Sorry.
So of course that each stakeholder has its a different way of supporting the startups. So we think that that kind of complementary role of each stakeholder is needed to nurture the startups. And since area is a research institute basically, so we don't provide any financial tools to the startups directly, but we are more like providing some platform where the startups can access to the resources, including talent, or finances, or big corporation work together. So what we are focusing on is that we try to highlight some of the good startup companies, and also we provide the platforms where those startup companies can meet the financial institutions, the big corporations, or government agencies. So that is something we are doing right now.
Thank you, Hiroshi. So you're really ecosystem builders in this case.
Yes, we try to be an ecosystem builder. Yes.
Okay. And what is the best practice that you could record from this experience, if there is anything that you would flag?
Mm-hmm. Okay, so as an area activities, like we just launched the center last year, so we are like a first year of the startup company itself. So we don't we see some of the movements among the startup companies and other stakeholders under our initiative, but we haven't find a specific company who already reached to the IPO yet. But one example is that the one winner of our award was recognized by the ASEAN business community, and we bridged them to the government they are going to work. So that is something because that the new services utilizing AI needs some support from the government, especially in terms of the the regulatory like a more flexible regulatory implementation. So that is something we help them, and they actually start discussing with the government they're going to provide the service. So that is something we see it's going to lead to the like a more concrete result of our initiative.
Thank you very much, Hiroshi. I don't know if Julia wants to follow up, because otherwise we can go towards.
Very quickly, very quickly, I would like to follow up about the question regarding startups and SDGs, or technology and SDGs. We shared the link of the paper in the chat. So if people are interested, or if the person who asked the question is interested, you will find in it one of my the favorite infographics that we produced for the paper. There's a table with the 17 SDGs. And for each SDGs, we identified examples of startups in Southeast Asia that are actively working throughout their business models to basically push this specific SDG forward. And it was a very easy infographic to put together, because for every SDG, we could find many companies working in that specific area. We know that the same infographic could be replicated for the EU, North America, or other regions. But nevertheless, it was very encouraging to see that so many young dynamic entrepreneurs, they really want to put at least some of the SDGs at the core of their entrepreneurial journey and business model. And this is also very much related to a favorable demographic that ASEAN is currently witnessing. The region is still relatively young. It is supposed, to start aging only after 2038. So they have ahead a good 10, 15 years where these, young Gen Z and millennial consumers can really drive innovation, and hopefully an innovation that goes hand in hand with the SDGs.
Oh, I want to add what Julia just mentioned is that the big difference of markets of Southeast Asia in the markets of developed countries like in Japan is that everything is grow in Southeast Asia. So sometimes like in order to achieve the SDGs in Japan, meaning that try to adapt to the decreasing market. But in case of Southeast Asia, try to achieve that SDGs, meaning that adapt to the growing market. So I think that's a very big difference, and that leads to the bigger role of a startup for achieving the SDGs in Southeast Asia.
Thank you very much. And the SDGs for us represent one important topic that will be assessed in the side event of the roundtable in Jakarta, because we will have one day discussing how there is this connection between higher education institutions, cities or regions, and the SDGs. I don't know I think there are no more questions from the chat, so we can go towards conclusion. And I would like to thank Hiroshi and of course Julia for having hosted this first webinar, because it's really compelling in the sense that the transition to digital, and when we say digital now we say AI, generative AI, is a challenge for all countries. I mean, there are champions, of course, like China and the United States are a bit more advanced in their approach, but Europe, Japan, Southeast Asia, we all face similar challenges, and the innovation and the diffusion of the innovation and the uptake of the innovation by SMEs represents an important frontier of policy making that everyone is dealing with. And in Southeast Asia, I think it's very important what we are discussing, Hiroshi, because my impression, I had the interactions with Vietnam a few weeks ago with representatives from Vietnam, and my impression is that it is these are economies that are always focusing on large scale businesses, very capital intensive, and now the discussion about small businesses, startups, is something culturally new, but it's fantastic to see how this energetic places that are in a positive growth dynamic are leveraging on entrepreneurship in connection with SDGs to fill the gaps, in terms of services, public goods, access to public goods. So it is very interesting to see this dynamic, and I look forward to being in Jakarta to understand and collect more information about these dynamics. And this is not the end of the discussion. We will go deeper in the regional dimension, so the subnational dimension of the discussion in our next webinar, which will be with Professor Andrés Rodríguez Pose on November 11th. And meanwhile, it was, again, thank you very much for connecting and for having shared all this relevant information. Julia, I leave you to conclude the webinar.
Thank you. We'll just conclude by sharing a practical piece of information. So with Raffaele, we are putting together an issue paper to be discussed at the roundtable in Jakarta. It would be a joint area OECD issue paper, and we will take, we will use, this conversation from the webinars to basically provide additional inputs to, this issue paper. Maybe, Raffaele, at some point we can circulate it, of course, with the participants of the roundtable, but also the broader network of participants of the webinar, because we will take, we will use our time to improve the paper, and then at some point it will become, there will be next iterations in 2025, but we are also working on that one. And thank you so much for sharing your opinions today, because we are going to use these ideas to move forward with this document too. Thank you.
So thank you very much, and to the next.
Bye-bye.